So sooner or later here, we'll get something going. Come on. There. Jeez. Okay, so, hey everyone, this is Joel from my friend Productions², and we are back to do a little bit of streaming. Probably not that much, maybe just maybe an hour, maybe a little bit less, we'll see. This morning we worked on getting some more of the, getting the beginning parts of the synthesis functionality done. And also I can explain how I managed to fix the refine window not hiding. Which, by the way, I've kind of deduced that it's somehow visible as at fault. Somehow calling this .hide doesn't work when I'm calling it up there. I have no clue why. But when I just put flatly this .visible down here, which is what this .hide does anyway, it just calls and that function, all it does is it just sets visible to true, or visible to false. So I just set it to false here, and then I'm not sure if I still need to call this stuff from up here or not with that there. I did try calling it twice because I thought maybe somehow the maybe the window might be getting created twice, but that didn't work either. So where are you? There you are. All right. So let's just go ahead and see what happens if we just do a deactivate up here now. I didn't test that. So if we can boil it down to .hide not working, then that's useful. Alright, new game. I've also made a few changes to the weapon list, the one that opens up, window that opens up at the beginning, that shows the weapon stuff. The changes were to make it so that the weapon list will update properly. So what was happening was this list here wasn't updating properly when coming back after refining, didn't have the +1. That was because the create commands function was only being called on initialization, so I moved it from initialization into the refresh. And so now whenever we refresh this window from wherever we refresh it from in the scene, it'll put that in now. I've already tested that, and it works. I also fixed a problem on the refine window where the gold was being drawn lower, like down here. That's because we didn't remove the Y plus whatever stuff from the draw item function call, which I have fixed. Alright, so now we go to refine. There we go. Okay. Yeah, see, that's .hide isn't working. My question is now, was it a typo? Did I typo it? I don't think I did. Nope, .hide. Definitely did not typo it. For whatever reason, .hide is not working from up here. It's the visible. That's it's this .visible. That's the problem. Okay, so we got that done with. Now if we go back to here, we can see Katana of Darkness +1. So, our next step is going to be synthesizing. So right now we have no weapons that we can display, because we don't have any. That's interesting, the gold window is not hiding either. I wonder, could it be something with the gold window? Maybe it's not. So this weapon. See, this weapon action window dot get width. This is interesting. So we're getting the get width. We're getting the width from action window. This is like the only thing I can think of that might be causing a problem, but I don't know why. We're just getting the width. We're not getting anything else from it. Using that in calculations, throwing through gameparty.gold, adding the window. We do that above everything else up here. Then we are showing it and refreshing it both places. For dreading giggles, let's comment this out. Put the hide back down here. for this and see what happens. And take the visible off of this. Because something somewhere is causing an issue. And the only thing that I've seen that's not working like it should is also the gold window. So maybe something with the gold window is causing that to really screw up. And it's possible. I added in the gold window in like 5 seconds, so it's quite possible there's something in there. Ton of darkness, level up. Whoa, what's not show? What? Oh, yeah, gold window. We're showing the gold window there. Yep, okay. I forgot to disable all that stuff. The joys of trying to debug code. Yeah, excuse me. Went through a lot of this at work today too. ASP is such a pain in the arse because it doesn't have proper, in my opinion, it doesn't have proper error reporting. So I have this at work. I'm working on these reports that were in Access before, and I'm putting them into a web page that's an ASPX with VB behind it for the code behind. And I've got these SQL data sources with some parameters. Now, it doesn't tell you this anywhere that I've ever looked online about parameters for SQL data sources, and you don't get any bloody error messages either when this is the case. But even if you aren't using them in your queries, if you don't have a default value for a parameter on a SQL data source, it basically borks the query entirely. It doesn't even run it. No errors, no nothing, just doesn't work. And it is a pain in the arse. Let's see. What am I doing? I am still not in the scene. Now I am in the scene. We're looking for this. Boom, there we go. Hide that, hide this, same thing down here, and we probably need to go down and hide this as well in the level up band. Yeah, this down here too, and here as well, and here, and here. Okay. I think that's all the gold Windows stuff. Let's see. I also found an interesting thing with the actually no, I should probably fix that because that should let's go ahead and fix that now. Yeah, this should actually be inside. Not sure why I thought it should be out here for. We only want to update it and call OK, process OK when we're actually successfully have refined the weapon. And not before. Okay. Nope, it's not the gold window. It is not the gold window. And it's definitely not hide doing it either. It's this visible false down there, which I don't get at all. Really quickly, while this is still working, let's throw some breakpoints on. Let's go up to the scene stuff. I'm going to put some breakpoints on these hides and see if they're actually doing anything at all. So I have a theory that somehow the this._ref window reference is getting farked somewhere. I went too far. But at the same time, the deactivate works, so I have no clue. Okay, and then I want to go to the Windows visible as false and see what's actually being set. Okay. Ah, crap. Let's go ahead and break them for now, actually. Or disable them. So I need to... Otherwise we're going to be doing a lot of clicking over there. We need to get back up to level 10 so we can refine again. So everything else works the way it's supposed to. Except for this damn window. Okay, now turn it on. This ref window.hide goes to here. Alright, close all this out and hit this. So this is window refine. Window.visible is true. Window.visible is false. Let's see. Comlist okay and cancel. Handlers okay, cancel. So parent window layer. Parent scene blacksmith. Ref window, act window, list window, stat window, and window layer. Help window. Destroyed is false. Closing false. Gold cost H is the height. Index is a window true. Last bounds ID -1. Mask margin opening false. Openness 255. Padding 18. So there's the origin. Transform. And yet it's still there. So actually I think on either well, it shouldn't actually, yes. So if we can't process OK, we do need to have this be outside of this. Actually, this part does. And actually, we should have, well, it should be in both, I think, because either it happens here or it should happen in the else. Well, the else, not really. This is going to be sound manager, unless I already do it up here. Okay, I do it up here. Never mind. Never mind, that is the else for all that's out. Okay, that's fine then. So, let's go ahead and refresh. Well, attempt to. I have no clue what's up with that then. Well, as long as we make it work, it doesn't matter how we make it work and how ugly it is behind the scenes. If it works, it works. So the main thing is get it working first, then maybe try and figure out why it isn't working the right way. No problem. Alright, so, now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the so the first thing we have to do is we have to well, we need to hide the stat window while we're doing this. Or rather, we need to return it to the original state. That it's in. So we need to return it to the all false version of the window, and do a call update and push a false through there as well. So there's a function that I made somewhere. Update stat window, yeah. So return to weapon select. Push a true through here, and that'll put it back to this version of it where it's, you know, the correct size and has the just basic information on it. That's the one we want for when we were selecting the weapon. So when we create the... Actually, we did a create up here, don't we? The donor list. Or not. I think it was up there and I moved it down here. So when we do this... Okay, we are doing false... actually, it should be true, not false. That's why it's not going correctly. And then we need to call this dot underscore. Or actually, no, we don't need to update it because the it should be updated from the list. I think. We'll see. Status. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. And then false, and then return this to... So what is it under the stat window? Or action window, rather. So it's just false. So that is what we'll use here then. So, oh wait, so it's select a weapon, goes to the more information screen. So it actually should be, from here, should be a true on the first one. Alright, so we'll grab some weapons and We should be able to just go right into it and see what it is. Yeah, but see, this needs to be updated and to pull back to the list size, which it is not doing. Alright, so on because we have to call it here, not down here. Or wherever I called it at. Yeah, this part. This should be false, and this should be true on this one. But this should go up here underneath the calls there. Alright, so let's have a look and see what that does. And then there we go, yeah. But as we're selecting, we also need to update the stat window. So we need to go to donor. So on select, so what are we calling on this one? So actually this probably doesn't work, to be honest, then. Or it shouldn't work. Well, it does work, but the refresh takes... Okay, so because it's already just data there, it's refreshing it anyway. But we need to pass through all falses. And we'll need to do the same down here with this one. So now on this, what we just basically want to do is take the first one, so the basic info, copy it, and maybe just rename it to the synth info. And change all the this._weapon to this._donor weapon. So you pull the information for the donor weapon instead of the selected weapon. So synth info. Yeah. Unable to find in this selection. There we go. just to make sure we didn't wipe on everything, so that's good. So now, when we go to that synthesized list, it should show, or it could show. Let's go that way. It could show. One more. Yeah, there we go. The only problem is it's still not updating. So on index changed or something. So build com list, which we'll need to move as well. So let's see. Weapon list. Alright, selectable, refresh, switch weapon, blah blah blah. Build com list, refresh, contents clear, build com list, build, draw all items, blah, blah, blah. Select first, so on select. There's also got to be something we're doing when we are. Well, yeah, select should apply to that. So. This not set selected weapon. Status window set donor weapon. Selected donor weapon. And then call the refresh. And actually on the refresh, 1, 2, 3. Fourth one should be true. This could be one of the reasons why it's not changing. Because we're actually refreshing it and loading up the the basic info version of that instead of the synth info version of it. Alright, we're getting somewhere now. So synth info is not a function. Like hell it isn't. Well, unless I type it, which is possible. So, let's check the... So, synth info, synth info. synth, yep, missed the H. So there's a character somewhere missing or extra that doesn't need to be there, causing problems. Okay, there we go. Now we've got that updating. So, now once we select this, so yeah, we definitely need another one. I mean, I thought about normally, well, not normally. We could what I had intended to do was to use the base information for this one as well, but you can't really do that without adding in. You'd basically have to have a parameter or boolean to say if this is a, if this is whatever, do this other stuff, which is the same code over again anyway, so it's better to just make a new function for it entirely. We're going to have to make another pass on this, though, I think. Another parameter to pass through, so we can have another one for synth2. So the first synth is just the info. Maybe we'll just call it synth info. And then B is synth. Which will be a different thing entirely. So I need to go find status stat win.refresh, and basically I have to add in another false statement to all of these. Let's see. So on weapon stat window, update actually. Yeah, so that's fine. So false. So donor list, true, refresh, false. So we're going back to the action window, so this should be true. Or rather, okay, this one should be true. We're updating this window quite a lot. And it's not this causing the problem, though it doesn't hide either, which is interesting. So, yeah, that's right. Actually, this is going to be, okay, yeah, weapon donor list, yeah, that's right. Donor weapon list, whatever. Now we need to do the window for refine, which again we're going to base off of the level. At the risk of having it be like the ref window. So that was also just created by copying the level up window. Let's create synth window. Create Sith window. Yes. Create the Darth Sidious window. Window synthesis or synthesize, I guess. That's going to be this synth window. Synth OK, synth cancel. Okay. Now, we also need to then call from up here on the donor OK. So I deactivate this dot create synth window. List underscore synth wind dot show synth wind dot activate. So upstat wind false. So we're going to return it to the other size, the bigger size. And then we want to update it to true on the 5th parameter. Okay. So again, we're just going to take the weapon level code and copy it down and change things around. Okay, let's do one more. Alright, so yes, we want to have that come through. Again, we don't need XP cost. We do need to set the costs, the commands, and the rects. So now for the cost, how are we going to set this up? So we have two weapons. They're of whatever amount of levels and or refinements. So I think what we'll do is it'll be a combination of the gold formula and the cost formula we had before for this, as well as a multiplier that is 50% of the total value of levels and refinements of both the donor and base weapons. So basically we have all this down here, this part. What we're going to do is what is up with this? So if it is not, oh, okay, this is what it does if it is only the levels, and this is the extra stuff. Gotcha. So we do want to get rid of that. So what'll happen with this is we'll have this times Okay, so we'll need two weapons. We'll need the base. We'll call this base and donor. So, only levels in this case. So, this donor score base weapon plus donor score level plus this donor score donor weapon donor score level, and all that is also within a parentheses, and we're going to multiply it by 0.5. So half of that value times the product of the evaluation of the gold formula, and then truncated. So similarly here, you just basically want to grab this. And throw it on the end of that. But this is also going to be then this this one though also has the additional bit. That's interesting, the math that round's not closed off. That couldn't be why, could it? No, if that was it, it would be. Huh. That'd be so just weird if that was it, because that shouldn't cause that. Oh, interesting. This is actually different than this one is. Right, because we wanted to add the more stuff into it. This, however, no, that's fine too. So it's just the level window, which works fine. So. Oh, nope, it's there. I must have removed it or copied it wrong or something. Anyway, so we have this, then times this. And on this, though, we want to add in additionally all that add together times 0.5 times the product of the rest of this, and then rounded. All right. Okay. So we got that. It's gonna be okay and cancel, same thing. Only gold cost. Let's see what else might we have to handle. Okay. So now, let's grab our stuff from up here for this. There we go. Okay. So this is going to be our basis for what we're doing down here. So again, we need to handle this. We have to handle this kind of like how we handled the level up. We have to go through and see which parameters are new and which are not. Those that are will get those that are new will get 30% of the value added onto it from the base weapon, and those that aren't are 13%. So we have our new traits, level bonuses from weapon. So this dot underscore base weapon. Kind of annoying. You have to have the selection before you open this. Keep forgetting that. Alright, so that's just to get us to this starting point. We'll have to do some other stuff to deal with the base, the donor weapon, I mean. So we're getting all so we'll call these base params. In other words, all the params and traits from the base weapon. Then we have to get them also for the donor. So we'll call these donor. Now we have parm and traits. Parm was not actually ever used, I don't think. It was a holdover from some other place where it was used. But anyway, in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to first see if the trait exists. So we're going to be setting all these up similar to how we set up the traits loop down here. It's going to be 2 loops. We're going to loop through the new traits, look for existing traits in the, in this case, loop through donor params, look for any, or loop through, donor params, look for any base params that have a value for that parameter. And if they do, we add it at that smaller rate, and if not, then we add it at the full 30% rate down here. And we'll do that for all of these. So in this case, for each PID in donor params, I guess we could just check it right off the bat. So we do need to have a, let's create the boolean here so we can use it for everything and not to redefine it. Var b param exists. Set to false for the default. So, if for var so I'll call this donor PID. For var base PID equal in base params. If donor params dpid well, actually, yeah, is not 0 and base params bpid is not equal 0. And b PID equals DPID. So if the donor parameter is not equal to 0, if the base param is not equal to 0, and if the base parameter ID and the donor parameter ID are the same, then we have the same parameter. It exists in both places, so we want to add it at the lower rate. So this downscript base weapon, base params, and actually, no, yeah, that's right. Base params PID plus equals donor params PID, but this is multiplied by 0.15. So we want 15% of that value. I wonder if we're supposed to get more rain. I don't know what it is. The last couple of days have been total hell here in Phoenix. Yesterday was actually okay. Today was total hell. The road I normally come down from work to come home was pretty much almost entirely flooded on the far right side lanes because the storm drains just couldn't handle the amount of freaking rain falling. And then on Monday we had this craziness going through it, like almost took out the power to half the city. Yeah, okay, so we got 70% chance of rain at 10 p.m. And now, so it's just funny to watch this thing. So yesterday it said that Thursday was going to be partly cloudy. Today, now it's saying Thursday is going to be completely thunderstorms, and so is next Monday. I do believe we have entered into monsoon season here in Arizona. Okay. Shouldn't be a problem. Well, really, I don't know what. We didn't really have very strong monsoons last year, so I don't really know. At least I wasn't here. No, yeah, I was. Yeah, I was here when we did, and then was here during that time frame, and we didn't really have much going on. So, I have to see how the power holds up. Back at where I used to live, you could literally have like almost hurricane level crap going on outside, and the power wouldn't even flicker. I think that SRP is way more professional than APS is. Those are the two main power companies out here in Phoenix. Okay, so the lower rates, and then we set B param exists equals true, so we don't hit this down here. So if it doesn't exist, we still have to do this check on the new param. Donor param. And really it should be fine because they should be the same number, so we could use BPID. So at this point, DPID is not going to, or DPID. Yeah, we could use that for setting the base params because the BPID is not going to be valid out here. So DPID is not 0. Obviously that will be 0. We don't need to check that, just as long as the donor param is not 0. Then this ._base weapon dot base params DPID times 0.3. Then once we're done with that, either whether or not we go into there or not, we need to set B param exists back to false. Not only for the next loop, but also for the next parameter loop. So we're going to do the same thing here. So for EX, or rather just E params, right, not EX. Okay, and then param doesn't exist. E params, E params, E params. And then same thing with SP. Okay. Now, same thing for this. For NTID and new traits, which is going to be actually donor traits. So we have B traits. and we have D traits. So for NTID in donor, so we'll call it BTID instead of NTID and donor traits. Alright, so we get all that, set these varies for later. So in B traits, BTID, and D traits actually. Okay. Don't know why I said BTID, it should be DTID. BTID is on the inner one here. Okay. So, exists true. If it doesn't exist, new traits, then we go D traits. DTID. We have some traits that push and traits. Of course, this will be times 0.3 and math.round. Or no, we can't do round on this one, can we? Right. These are percentages. Okay, and then let's see, durability. Do we want to increase durability when we synthesize? So I'm leaning towards yes, but that's going to be a bit different because it's always going to have it. So maybe we do this one at 20%. So base weapon max stir plus equals. Oh yeah, I got the rain coming down now. It's like pounding on the skylight, my bathroom. Damn, it's coming down hard. Already got just over 1/4 of an inch today, which is crazy for Arizona. All right, so durability. It's not new durability. It's going to be. We'll do it off the max durability. So list underscore donor weapon dot underscore maxter times 0.2, and this we will round. Alright, and then we need to create a new function to remove, to splice out that. So we had to do this on, well, this is different. This is a list. This isn't a JSON thing. So we still need to create a new game party function to do this. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you're probably thinking, well, why not just use, like, there's a function to do this. And maybe we can in the future, but for now we're just going to do it this way. Move party weapon. So we want the index. So, yeah, the ID. Because ID is the index. So if we have 0, we're putting in the size, which is 1. And then that ID becomes 0. So actually it's going to be the ID of the weapon minus 1. So yeah, it's the length of it. So the ID is the length. So it's going to be ID minus 1 to get the proper version, the proper one of them. Well, see, that's interesting then. So the weapon ID, well, the ID of the weapon is the length. Oh, no, that's right. Yeah. So if this is 0, the length is 0, this ID becomes 0, and it's now element 0. The next one will be 1, because that's the length will be 1, ID will be 1. So no, it's the, yeah. Yeah, we don't have to do anything. Just pass through the weapon ID. And then we call game party dot weapons. So weapons is a list, so JavaScript list remove should be dot remove the ID, which should be the element. And let's see, JavaScript list, well, array remove. Or is it pop? That's the last one. Okay, so we could use splice. Well, this one, that's interesting. Splice in this case is used to add new ones. And you can, I see you can do both. You can add or you can remove. So, 0 defines the position where elements should be added, spliced in, and 1 defines how many should be removed. I see. So, Oh, maybe it was slice, not splice. Though they sound pretty much the same. It's just a P in one and not in the other. So yeah, we just say that dot slice to remove it. Slice. Do we have to make it equal? Yeah, we do. Because it returns an array without that in it, I suppose. Alright, remove party weapon. Which is what we want to do, because once we do this, we're getting rid of that, since we're not... So process final params again to re-update those. And then base level equals 1. This dot underscore base weapon dot. Should this be on the outside? That's on the else. No, it shouldn't. Well, I mean, it can be. Well, let me see. That's interesting. Where does this else go to? So is this actually malformed? Looks like it might be. Because it's not matching the opening and closing here. So let's see, where does this go to? So that's the closing for that. Maybe the distance is just too long. No, I think it's correct. It's just the distances are too long for it to show. So yeah, we definitely want to do this stuff inside of here, not outside of it. I'll need to fix that on the other one if it's like that. Anyway, so we have this. We want to set that to 1. I'm going to set refine to... So for refine, we're gonna change refine ref level to be the current ref level plus the ref level of the donor weapon. So basically, we're gonna make the ref level double, and that way it becomes harder to. Or actually, let's increase the ref. Well, let me see. How do we want to handle this? Because it should be harder to synthesize a weapon once you've already done it once. The easiest way to do that is just to keep this at max, the max level actually. So So put the level to max and then increase the refine so that you have to, the next weapon you want to synthesize into this, you have to refine it more, which makes it harder to get to this and less, possibly less lucrative depending on the stats. Well, maybe even more lucrative depending on the stats. But maybe not double it. Maybe we'll just increase it by a rounded half, 1.5 of the donor weapons. We'll have to move. We'll have to do the donor weapon remove after this, though. Okay, and then game party dot remove party weapon, and then the weapon ID. So this underscore donor weapon. Okay. So let's just kind of do a sanity check on all this and make sure it all looks like what it should. So, here are things here that we've got of our stuff for how this should work. First of all, the refine and level of the base weapon should be the same as the donor weapon in order for it to be chosen to synthesize. For now, it's only going to cost gold, but items may be included in the future, and the donor weapon gets destroyed. So you're destroying a weapon as part of the cost. And for the bonuses, the params and traits that already exist on the base weapon are carried over from the donor weapon at a rate of 13% on the values, and for ones that don't already exist on the base weapon, they get carried over at a 30% rate of the values. So we come down here, we do the gold loss, we set the base weapon XP to 0, and then we check the ref level. No. So that's where one of those extra things came from. Extra braces came from. So we go and just push that over, get rid of this brace. Okay, next up we pull in all the so actually we don't need this at all. The traits, that is. And we actually have to change how these work, actually. Base params. SP params. And EX params. And we don't need that. Same thing up here. Alright, so we're getting we're filling these with the parameters, parameter lists from the weapons. This should be donor. Then we're looping through, we're setting up these to store things. We don't actually need that. So B traits will store all the traits we're pulling out of the donor base weapon object, and the D traits will store everything out of the donor weapon object. Then we're doing the loops on those. So var I1 equals 0, I1 is less than base weapon traits length, incrementing I1. B traits I1 equals this base weapon dot traits I1. And then same thing here, var I1 equals 0, I1 less than donor weapon traits dot length, I1 increment D traits, I1 equals this donor weapon underscore traits I1. And then we're doing the checking and modifying for the parameters. So for first base parameters, so donor params. So for each ID and donor params, and then for each ID and param ID and base params. If donor params DPID is not the value is not 0, that param, and if the value of the base param is not 0, and if the BPID and DPID are the same, so if it's the same parameter we're looking at, and this is true, that means that it exists in the base weapon, and so we need to update it with the 15% of the donor weapon value, which is what we're doing here. This dot base weapon dot base params BPID plus equals donor params. This one we should also do a round on. And exists is false. So, or exists is true. So now if it didn't find anything in there that matches these conditions, or if the base param was 0, then this remains false, and we go and fall into here. If donor params DPID is not equal to 0, so we want to make sure that the donor param is not 0. And then if it isn't, then we put it into the base weapon params at a 30% rate of the value, and then we set it back. The params exist to false. So that on the next loop through it is false to start with, and so after the loop is done, it's false for the other ones as well. So we need to do the math round on these. Everything else looks fine though. Alright, so traits. So for every trait ID in D traits, so these are objects, so they have a key value pair. So we pull the D traits code, and if it's not 0, and the D traits code, or D traits, so we're checking to see if it's all zeros or not. If it's all zeros, we don't want to process that one, so we skip it. Next, we set the var B trait exists to false, and then set these for use later, and then we start looping through the base weapon traits. If the base weapon traits at btid.code equals the same code as in the D traits DTID, and if the data ID is the same, so same code, same type of parameter, and the same category of parameter and the same parameter, actual parameter, then it does exist already in the base weapon. So we update the base weapon.traits TID, which should be DTID, or BTID, I guess. Value to the value of D traits DTID at a rate of 15%, and set this to true. So we skip this. If we don't have that, this remains false, and we fall into this. And we have a new trait that we're creating, so we can push it in. And so we get all the information from D traits DTID. So n trait code equals that code equals the DTID is DTID, and then we get the value as the value of D traits at 30%. And then we push that into base weapons, or base weapon.traits. So that all looks correct. Then down here we're getting the max dir at 20% rate from the donor weapon to the, adding it to the base weapon, resetting the durability to max dur. We are processing the final params to update the final params list in the base weapon. We're setting the base weapon level to max. And then we are setting the refine to 1.5% or times 1.5 of the donor ref level, adding that to the base weapon ref level. Then we're removing the donor weapon from the game party weapons list, and then we're updating the base weapon with the new stuff, and then we are calling process OK. That all sounds pretty much how it should be. Now let's go see how many problems there actually are. So there are probably going to be many. Now we need to do the synth function for the status window, which is going to be interesting in its own right. There's a ref info, synth info. Now, window underscore status window web status. I mean. Crap. Can't type already. Proto. That didn't look right. Dot. Because this isn't right. Okay, so really what we want to do is the same stuff we do for the level up. We just want to have, instead of using the weapon, we want to use base donor weapon for all this stuff, and change the values to the correct percentages that we need them to be, if they are new or not. So we'll start with the code from the level up window info function, and then we'll modify it to our needs. So first thing we're going to do is if this hits donor weapon, right? I think I added another one for donor weapon. Donor wep, yeah. So first we need to make sure that donor wep, well, this .wep and donor wep actually. Make sure they both are not null. Then clear the contents. So wep level, this is actually going to be max level. And then we're going to bring in some of the code from down here up there so we can build the lists that we need. And those will replace these. Okay. So now, let's see. Instead of base weapon, it's just wep, and it's donor weapon instead of donor weapon. Go ahead and get that out of the way first. Okay, so now param labels. So let's go back down to our other code. So we're going to put this in durability, it's fine. Weapon ref level. Don't really care about that, so we're not going to deal with that. Let's go ahead and take that out. Okay. We don't need this because we're already building that up above. Now for the param labels, let's just put our code down here. So we're going to have to do, we're going to have to basically model this the same way we do this, but we'll have to basically do it on both of these, so those will be different values. So first of all, we need to do let's just go ahead and throw this up here first of all. So var parm str so equals this dot get parm name, which will be 0 PID BPID. Then this dot set sign new params space params or donor param. Well, let's see. Base param donor base donor base. So it's going to be donor params, BPID. It's going to get kind of hairy. So this times 0.15. Alright, and then that's going to be what this is. Okay. And then we can remove this and then do the push or whatever we do down here. Yeah. New param labels dot push. We'll just leave it new param labels because that'll be easier to deal with. Let me go to the later sections. Still need to leave that there. Else. Basically the same thing. Except at a rate of 30. And using DPID instead of BPID. So not too incredibly hairy, but hairy enough that it's going to be kind of annoying. So this one's going to be 1. And they're all missing the closing parentheses. Parentheses, or whatever you want to call it. The closing half circle. Okay, so got those. Now I need to do these. Switch those to DPID and then 30. And that's done. Let me get rid of these. So, durability. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So, weapon EXP. Is going to be 0. Weapon level 1. Then refinement is going to be this weapon refine level plus math.round. This underscore donor wep dot underscore ref level times 1.5. Weapon durability is also going to be the same way. Okay, so there's that. No, yeah, actually that's right. That should go on the inside here. Or no, wait, no, I was right. Let's see. So to get the new one, we're just taking the level and we're adding to it. So the is plus donor. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, I was right. We don't need it at all. Same thing with this. All I want to do is get this part. So that's the part that we're adding onto it. You don't want to get the full value. So we're adding. Same thing here. Okay, now durability is going to be this. As is refine. Actually, I already have that. So I don't need this down here. That was for when the refine thing could or may or may not have changed it. So don't need that. Don't need that now. So weapon name, weapon icon, change text color to green, weapon level. So the weapon level is actually going to be plus this dot underscore wep dot max level. Okay, let's see. We actually should do EXP in red, to be honest, because we're setting it to 0, so we're losing it. So we want a red color. Oh, I already got one. Cool. CFOCO0. Or no, there's not 0, C. And then we want to reset it. Description, line height, ref durability. Both of those can be in this color. Not that one. No, yeah, that one. That's the green color. So now, I think we'll stop here for tonight. So what we'll do tomorrow morning is we'll continue from here, and we will have to kind of rethink a little bit on the weapon labels, because what we want to do is we want to have a differentiation like we do with the traits, where if a trait is if a param is brand new, I want to do the param name as green as well. And if it's not, then I just want to do the well, see, that's going to be kind of hard to do though, because it's all together. It's not like we can just, print it separately like on that, because on that down there, the value is on the traits, the value is a separate thing. Here the value isn't a separate thing. I think we have to do I just have to do them all in green no matter what, I guess. Maybe we can add something like an asterisk next to ones that are brand new. Or something like that. But that's going to be it for tonight. So thanks for watching. If you watched it live, if you're watching on YouTube afterwards, comments or questions, leave them below. And I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow morning. And yes, one of the reasons I am stopping now is because it's about 10:20, and I need to upload the Crimson Echoes videos. So, yeah. Not going to get a live view of me doing that tonight. I think once is enough every couple of months. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow morning where we will continue this and then test it all and see how much stuff breaks. So I can guarantee you there will be broken stuff everywhere. It's just how I roll.